It's not my job to put the fear of God into you. It's not my job to put you in a position of worrying. It's not my job to bring it home to New Zealand just exactly what is happening at the moment in the areas of gangs. There is revelations that Willie Jackson, you know who Willie Jackson is, met with the mongrel mob at gang headquarters, and black power in the beehive on multiple occasions indicate that, far from hostile, government relations with gangs are practically friendly. Now, just think about that for a moment, that we have a government, and particularly one of the prominent people from the Labour Maori caucus, are meeting with the gangs, the mongrel mob and the black power, not only in their gang headquarters, but inviting them into the beehive for cups of tea. Now you've got to remember, the gangs are recruiting. This is the scary thing from the police and from other statistics, that the gangs are recruiting faster than the police. Violent crime is on the rise, and the government is releasing criminals from prison early. I can't think of a New Zealand government, and I don't think anyone else can think of a government within New Zealand that has ever been as soft on crime and gangs as this particular one. Is this the way that this government, with its extreme policies and ideology, is this the way that the funny little minds of the Arderns cabinet think that this, for treaty partnership, that this is the way to extend the concept of the treaty partnership? They're stupid enough to think that way, you know. You've got to believe there that when you have someone and some people who believe the ideology that this crowd believe in, I wouldn't be at all surprised if this has not crossed their mind. It's that, hey, this is not such a bad way of extending our treaty partnership deal. Let's get the gangs involved. But then, of course, you've got to remember that when you have extreme ideologies taking over your political life, of which this one is at every level, it's really scary. Think about it over history. Think about right at the very moment that where you have governments that have such extreme ideological views of what or how they wish to see a country run, they have always ended up with gangs as their police force. And don't think for a moment it couldn't happen in New Zealand. Under the Arderns ideology, under the Greens' absolute crazy notions, it could happen. Yes, it could happen. Just read the history books. And I'm still talking about the history books, history only as far back as our parents and our grandparents. And we still have countries in this world today that have these extremely ideological beliefs that Cinder Ardern and her close associates, they believe in that. The fact is that it appears the government has given up trying to halt gang growth. Former Minister of Police, Stuart Nash, said in 2017 that he was going to smash the gangs. This week, Nash stated, "Unless you are a gang member, you have no reason to feel unsafe. The public are not everyday targets." What? The so-called hardline police minister, the Minister of Police under this Arderns government, one moment he's talking about being tough, and somewhere along the line he has completely done an absolute about turn and says, unless you are a gang member, you have no reason to feel unsafe. The public are not everyday targets. Now just go and tell that to the increasing number of people who have been victims of gang crime or collateral damage to gang conflict. New Zealanders should not have to put up with patch gang members intimidating their communities. Gang membership has increased by 50% under this government to over 8,000 across New Zealand. It certainly seems that Labour is now trying to focus on appeasing them. The tail is wagging the dog. Gangs are in the driver's seat with this government, and instead of telling gang members to obey the law or face the consequence, ministers are sitting down with them to have a cup of tea. The government should focus on holding gangs to account for the drugs they peddle, the illegal guns they haven't handed back, and the violence they perpetrate, not meeting with them so they can be better understood. Gangs have not only grown in size under the government, but are becoming more emboldened and more brazen with their straight-out lawlessness. Minister for Prevention of Sexual Violence, Marama Davidson, also met with the mongrel mob in April and later spoke at a gang pad in early May. Well, that figures, doesn't it? If you're going to be that green, no wonder you're bloody cabbage looking. The government must deliver on its promise urgently of 1,800 new police, with 700 of those tasked with tackling organised crime. Without urgent action, gang members will soon outnumber our police. And this is really scary thought, is it not? That we've got a government that is just allowing this group of lawlessness, these people who are so lawless, to take over and do as they wish. So they go along and they have the people from government go and have cups of tea with them and say, oh, tut, 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 you better improve, you better look after yourself, make sure you're not crossing the line, otherwise, the people are not going to like you very much. This, of course, is stupidity. The only thing that these sort of people believe and take notice of is strong individuals who have the power to make their life miserable if necessary. But what have we got? We've got a Prime Minister who's more interested in peddling her nonsense and her ideologies, a Green Party, she should really be the leader of the Greens, and we've got this dreadful mix down there of bloody soft-headed, weak-willed twits running this country. So, just remember one thing, the gangs do take over and run things on the street after a country goes communist, just in case you have forgotten that point.